Hi guys, TJ here, and today we're going to be talking about the Battle of the Sexes. Kinda like a mixture of Selma and Glory Road, except in the Glory Road you take away the basketball and then you replace it with tennis. I think that works. So the Battle of the Sexes is a film about tennis that's not really about tennis. This is a biopic about Billie Jean King facing off against Bobby Riggs. It was billed as some amazing Battle of the Sexes tennis match that had like a large audience viewing it, and it was really kind of this like spectacle in which a woman was going to play against a man in a professional tennis match. See, I don't know much about professional tennis or the history of professional tennis, so everything that happened in this was kind of new to me. This film stars Emma Stone and Steve Carell as Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs respectively, and it's really about this kind of clash between the ideology that, you know, men are superior and so they always deserve more, and it brings up a lot of good points in that if women are bringing in just as many seats, as many tickets in the professional world of tennis or anything else, why wouldn't they be paid the same as the men? This film hits on equality, sexism, on gender identity, on sexual orientation, the acceptance of sexual orientation, the many hurdles that, you know, athletes will put themselves through to maintain their public persona. It's got a lot going on. And like I was saying, this film isn't really about the tennis part of the game. It's really about Billie Jean King and, to a lesser degree, Bobby Riggs. And how those two personalities and those two personas kind of, you know, clash in this public spectacle. I would say Emma Stone did a pretty good job portraying Billie Jean King's struggle to overcome this sense of misogyny in the era of the 1970s. There are a few instances in this film where secondary characters appear and you think they're going to have a lot more significance than they do, and then next thing you know, they're just gone. They really don't matter. Emma Stone's character, she has like a rival of some sort, and she kind of just goes away. Oddly enough, Steve Carell portraying Bobby Riggs in this film was probably one of the weaker parts of the film. Many of his scenes were just kind of, it felt unnecessary, and to a certain degree I was trying to recognize who the antagonist was in this film, and I couldn't pinpoint if it was supposed to be Bobby Riggs, because a lot of time is spent trying to show us his life and trying to get us to understand this character, where he's coming from, because when he's in front of the cameras, he's all a show, all misogynistic, self-labeled misogynistic, and really kind of just this kind of clown. But outside of it, he's going through his own problems with his family and trying to figure out, where he sits in the world as this retired, tennis star. I mean, I guess Lone Star was the bad guy, because he was the tennis promoter who didn't want women to be paid as much, but I'm not necessarily sure why that was the case. It almost seemed like some of the men in this film were just like comically misogynistic, which I guess maybe that was, correct for the time, but like it almost seemed as if they hated women instead of, just having some other reason for not wanting to give them the money. It seemed like it wouldn't have been that hard, but obviously that's what happened back then. The beginning of the film wasn't that terribly exciting. I mean, they introduce you to the characters and some of the conflicts that arise, but I really wasn't that engaged until the third act, which is when the actual match happens. That is billed in the title of the film, The Battle of the Sexes. This is really more of a film that centers on self-acceptance and being able to overcome these roles that are being placed upon you, even though they don't necessarily make sense. If this film was made 20 years ago, it would definitely be getting a lot more attention than it is now in terms of the themes it's trying to portray. But in a modern context, it's just not that groundbreaking. After this film, I had to look up like whether or not some of the things that happened during the match were real. Like, did he actually walk out there with like the sugar daddy's jacket on and a giant sugar daddy handed to her? Because if that's the case, then that's funny. I wouldn't say it's one of the best biopics, especially about sports, but it does tackle some themes that you don't necessarily see in a lot of other sports films or biopic films, so think it should get some credit for that. The message of this film is that you should be who you are and don't let anyone else tell you who you are or what you can do. Unless you're the biggest tennis history fanatic or a really big fan of Billie Jean King or maybe even Bobby Riggs, this is probably a wait. Well, that's all I got today, guys. I hope you liked the video, and please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.